Hey, everybody. Welcome to EduMatch. Follow along with us at bit.ly/tweettalk78 and on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, did you know that you could be the featured person of the day? Yes, there's a little bit of a wait, but the wait is so worth it because we will get you hooked up, not cooked up, but hooked up and connected with educators around the world. So if a match comes up in the meantime, we'll tag you. And in addition, if you have a blog, then as long as we can find the RSS, then we will automatically tweet it out every post that you publish. So that is pretty cool. Wanted to also give a shout out to my friends at Phi Sigma at Anastasis Academy in Colorado. Just came from there yesterday, and looking forward to spending time with people at Integrate Ed in Portland this week as well. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to our panel today. We are going to be talking about student voice. So we will introduce ourselves. Doctor, if you don't mind, I'm going to come to you last because you're the moderator. But if we could have Leah, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hold on. Sorry. I forgot to double click on it. Whoa, I promise I do technology. I'm Leah Kurtz. I'm a technology trainer for a school district north of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm just excited to talk about student voice. It's one of my favorite things.
Awesome. Welcome back, Leah. Great to have you on here. And also welcome back to Lennon. So if you could please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Lennon. I'm a senior in high school, a senior at Brophy Prep, and I'm really looking forward to graduating in just about, I think, 50 days left of school. So I'm here to give my student perspective on student voice today.
Awesome. So glad to have you back, Lennon. And thank you so much for joining us. And then last and definitely not least, we have our awesome moderator, Dr. Dorian Roberts. So if you could please introduce yourself and then take it away. Have you on here, and also welcome back to Lennon. So if you could please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Lennon. I'm a senior in high school at Brophy Prep, and I'm really looking forward to graduating.
Awesome. So glad to have you back, Lennon. And thank you so much for joining us. And then last and definitely not least, we have our awesome moderator, Dr. Dorian Roberts. So if you could please introduce yourself and then take it away.
Okay. Hi, I am Dr. Dorian Roberts. I am Dr. Dorian Roberts. I am
here. And also welcome back to Lennon. So if you could please introduce yourself.
And I have absolutely no windows open, I swear to God.
Hi, my name's Lennon. I'm a senior in high school at Brophy Prep.
All right, well let's keep trying. So if you want to just reintroduce yourself.
Let me try it again.
So glad to have you back, Lennon, and thank you so much for joining us. And then last and definitely not least, we have our awesome moderator, Dr. Dorian Roberts. So if you can please introduce yourself and then take it away.
Okay. Hi, I am Dr. Dorian Roberts.
All right, Dr. E, maybe if you like hit the mute button on your computer, and then you talk. If it gives you some feedback, then it won't come through if you hit that mute button.
Okay, testing.
All right, well let's keep trying. So if you want to just reintroduce yourself.
Let me try it again.
So glad to have you back, Lennon, and thank you so much for joining us. And then last and definitely not least, we. Hey, Doctor, if you try to turn the volume all the way down on your computer, that might help. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, I still hear. Okay, I'm gonna try it one more time. I'm Dr. D. Yes, I love technology as well. I'm Dr. D. Okay, how about this? I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna go out and come back in.
All right, that sounds good. All right, so in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get rolling. All right, so the very first question, and Dr. E will probably have a different question when she comes back, but why is student voice important in the classroom? And I'd love to hear that from an educator perspective as well as a student perspective. And I should also point out that Lennon is also an educator, and he wears many, many hats. So I'm going to actually ask the question first to Lennon. If you could just please tell us like all the different hats that you are wearing and where you see student voice fitting in from your multiple perspectives.
So I'll just name off three of them. So I'm a teacher. So I teach Latin at a middle school. I'm also the state president of Educators Rising Arizona. So basically I help future teachers who are starting in high school, who are looking at teaching as a career, develop really good and accomplished teaching skills. And I also am now, apparently I can add, I guess, to my list, I'm a keynote. Next week, I'm starting to keynote as an Educators Rising conference. I'll be doing actually a keynote on student voice. So it's one that I gave in Boston last year. And I sing Katy Perry. You guys can view it. I'll tweet out the link, I'm sure, later. But I used Katy Perry as my segue into student voice. Anyway, going to the question, I think that when we look at the power of student organizations and when we look at the power of student voice and just the effect it can have, the research behind it, student voice being shown to close the achievement gap, student voice being shown to help increase performance within the classroom when we pair it with the Pygmalion effect. There's just so much research that supports student voice being a tool that we can use to help make learning great and help make learning an experience that students want and an experience that students feel empowered with. And so when we add student voice to the classroom, of course, a shift in student motivation for the learning, their empowerment, that intrinsic motivation is starting to develop for getting the grinds going. And as a student, I really enjoy having the options and the choices involved with it. So especially as a student, when I get a project and I have the opportunity of choosing one or the other to demonstrate my knowledge, I think it gives a sense of autonomy to my learning and a sense of fulfillment that it's about me and what I can do with it, and not so much just about what the teacher wants to see with it. So that's why I enjoy looking at student voice in the classroom.
Absolutely. Wow. Yes, definitely. When you're talking about the engagement and how it's paired with the Pygmalion effect, I thought that was very powerful. Absolutely. All right. So Leah, what about you?
Okay, just for the record, next time I want to go first because Lennon is hard to follow. My hat is off to you, or my headband if my hair wouldn't lose its mind. But student voice is definitely something that is really close to my heart. I have 5 kids of my own, and after teaching for over a decade, what you notice as hands-on in the classroom, and like Lennon mentioned, what you see reflected in research as well, is that when students have a voice and when they genuinely feel heard and cared about by their teachers, things change. You see achievement from students who have never achieved before, and they feel like they are part of a community. And I think, Sarah, community is the big thing with me, building a community and giving all students a voice. Recently, what I have really been interested in terms of student voice is I am by nature an introvert. Like, I will need to be quiet for probably the next hour or so to recover from being on for 30 minutes. But what we're starting to see with technology is the ability to give introverts a voice and to give ESOL students a voice. Students who traditionally have not really been able to comfortably speak within a classroom, they still need to be heard. Things like shouted out through Smart 16, things like Mentimeter, one of those free apps where you can throw a question out to students and they have the opportunity to speak to those without the concern of everyone's looking at me and they're thinking about what I'm saying, and that's uncomfortable for some of them. And so really making an effort to open student voice to all students is changing the dynamic of classrooms. Back over to you, Sarah.
All right, great. Well, you touched upon something that I was very curious about, how you all would, what kinds of different ways can we allow students to have voices? So you talked about the extroverts and the introverts and the you know, the different strategies. So I was just wondering if y'all could go into like more depth about maybe one strategy that you have really seen work and what it looked like to meet the needs of all different kinds of learners. So we'll start first with you, Leah, as you requested.
Because I know Lennon's going to have one that's way better. Recently, like I mentioned, Mentimeter. Mentimeter allows you to do different questions. And if you're not familiar with it, it's phenomenal and it's free. And they did not pay me anything for that, which I feel like I got gypped on that one. But I was working with a teacher and she was having a difficult time with some of her students really feeling comfortable asking questions. I showed her the tool, and as her students were working on a review for a huge AP level practice test in her class, she just threw out on Mentimeter, what do you need help with? And she was able to meet one-on-one with students. And as students were working in their groups, they could ask a question, ask for clarification on something without feeling like, oh, I can't believe I don't know that, I'm going to look stupid, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just one example I've seen recently. And it was one that really rung very true with me, because I was that kid. I still am. I don't like to be, I don't want to be called upon unless I'm trying to beat out Lennon, because I know he's going to outperform me on this one. But just on a day-to-day basis in a classroom, it can be very, very intimidating for a wide variety of students, and really incorporating the technology in to allow them a more anonymous voice. And I know that there are a number of teachers who are concerned about that. Like, well, what if they put something crazy? Well, I think it's all about the relationship you've built with your students in terms of preventing that. And I see Dr. Dorian's back, and it's over to Lennon.
All right, awesome. So yeah, we'll pass this question over to Lennon, and then we will come right back to Doc D and have you ask the next question.
All right, so I love the question application that you're talking about, because as a person that is absolutely horrible at math and science, I think that it's a great tool as a student for the students that really do have the problem with, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to look like this is not going to turn out well if I ask this question, because we've reviewed this like 7 times. Everyone's going to give me looks. One of the things that I have seen my school start to shift towards, especially with language learning, is a mastery scale. So I think with the mastery scale for grading, it's very easy to get caught up in the subjectiveness sometimes, but there's a student voice element that is added to that, because within our language department, you can retake tests to demonstrate competencies which you were deficient on previously. And I think it's important that the students, recognize that, and the students are the ones who bring it to the attention of the teachers when they want to retake. I was very proficient in X, Y, and Z area of this competency, but I need more help here. Can you help me, or can you do something that can aid me? One of the best and ultimate examples of student voice, I think, is for my Latin class. We had a project and we had a final. And if you mastered your project with a 4 or a 3.5 or above, then you didn't have to take your final. But if you are more of a visual demonstrator of knowledge versus someone who can sit down, make a project to demonstrate your knowledge of the competency, the concept of bringing that language together. I think that having those two options was great for me as a person, because not only was it a safety net, but it was also a way for me to go and say, you know, I'm able to do this at this level, but I'm also able to do this at this level. And it's great. And we don't compare those two levels because they're on different spectrums, but respectively, they're trying to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I'm going to pass it now over to Dr. Roberts.
Hello. Tardy for the party. Just want to make sure, I don't know how much of this has been covered. So this question is going to go to Lennon, and this is also going to go to Leah. Lennon, if you could, tell me, based on the experience of being a student, what do you like most about learning? And Leah, I would like you to tell me the same thing based on being a professional teacher.
So for learning, I think that the best experience that I have is in the classes where I do the poorest, where I start to make the most strides. So when I'm in a math class, and I struggle so, I'm just horrible at math. But when I start to gain the concepts and start to put in the time and the repetition necessary to be successful in math, and when I start to figure out, you know, the keys to success within that subject area, I think that's when I find the most joy in learning. It's not so much because it's math or because it's science, but the discovery of how I can accomplish something and the discovery of how I'm able to do something, even something that might be difficult to me, is probably the best part of learning that I enjoy.
Very good. Very good.
And, okay. And what do I enjoy the most from a professional perspective about learning? I am one of those lifelong learners. I know we all are on this conversation. I like to know all the things, all of them. So for me, learning it's magical. It's that moment where everything clicks and you understand how this new knowledge works with the older knowledge that you have, and you see them all connecting and sharing that. Because to me, unless you are actually sharing your learning, then it's like hoarding gold and, you know, there's no purpose to it. That is my favorite part, is putting it all together and then being able to share it and make it mean something to someone else.
Okay, thank you very much. And then my next question is, Leah, in your case, well, really Lennon, in your case, what do you think, what advice could you give to teachers or other educators on the best things they should do differently in the students' perception to help engage them and to help them learn?
One, and a very quick, and I know some teachers may spite me for this, but I think that it's important that teachers give feedback to teachers about their teaching, and it's not something that's going to determine, you know, whether their contract gets renewed, what subjects they're going to be teaching next year, what their classroom is going to look like. But I think it's important to understand not only what the students walk in with, you know, their cultural backgrounds, their perspectives, their beliefs, their opinions, but tailoring, you know, instructional approaches to what's going to work for them, because in the 21st century, we have so many different approaches to learning and to teaching. And I think, and we talk, you know, one size fits one. We can't figure out a way to, we can't teach one way, and students don't all learn one way. So I think teacher evaluations, although some teachers are like, no, 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 I can't have that. It's not, it's just a tool for you to see, you know, what areas could I improve on? Are my assessments not reflecting, you know, the assignments or the exercises that I give my students? Are, you know, my activities engaging? What could I change about my activities to make them more engaging, or to make them reflect what standards or competencies I want my students to walk out with? Just the little things that we end up seeing, just the little things that we end up, you know, in our day-to-day lives not realizing as teachers, or teachers don't realize, but the things that really matter at the end of the day in education.
And Leah, for you, what, based on how long you've been in education, what do you think, as your professional development and learning has grown, what do you think you would have done differently from the beginning of your career as opposed to now?
Oh, that's a good one. All right. That's a really challenging one. Woo, Dr. Dorian. I think that as I have grown as a teacher, as a learner, as a trainer, what has really become clear to me over the course of the years is how absolutely crucial developing a community is. And I don't think, even though I thought I did the first couple of years, I don't think I truly understood the massive impact that community and that rapport has. And it all comes back around to student voice, that when students feel like they have a say and that someone is listening to them and cares about them, they perform. And I believed that, but I don't think, best way I can say it is, I don't think I felt it in my soul early. And the more time that I have spent teaching and leading and learning and training, the more that it is a part of me. And I think that it would have been amazing if I had felt it that deeply to begin with, but I don't know if I was even capable of it that early. But that is one thing that I encourage new teachers that I talk to all the time, is that community and understanding and caring about those children, whether they are 6 or 18, is what is important. You know?
Very good, very good. I think if I was posed the same question at teacher colleges and teacher prep programs, I don't think that we're so focused on learning and being able to deliver the content that we do not take into consideration how the meaningfulness of the content and the student voice incorporated with the content. And that I'm really big on as I become more seasoned than I would like to be. Seasoned. And as I work with different student teachers. My last question is for the both of you. What do you feel motivates you and other students to motivate them to learn? What's that motivation and engagement key? And I don't want the get them engaged by being hands-on. What is the motivation key that you feel will push education into students having more academic success?
Okay, I'll go first. I agree. It's very easy, Dr. D, to say, oh, it's hands-on, it's moving, it's, you know, because that's what we're trying to say, right? But I think really what it comes down to is making connections between the content and the students' lives. And Lennon, you touched on that in your last answer, I believe, about being aware incorporating those cultural backgrounds and the knowledge and the background that every student comes in with. And to do that, I'm circling back around to my community. You got to know your kids. You know, you're not going to connect that knowledge that first day with Johnny because you don't know him yet. But when you make the time to understand the culture of the school that you're in and to build those relationships, then as much as I'm not an advocate for lecture, I think we're kind of past the point in education where sage on the stage is the way to go. However, the bottom line is you're going to have to do some teacher-led instruction at some point. And when you know your students and you have those connections with them and you make that content meaningful to them, then academic achievement increases, period.
I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lennon, how about you?
I 100% agree. I think that it starts with the classroom culture and the school's culture. It's something that, while hands-on, you know, that really is just, when we get down to it, that's just teaching pedagogy. It's nothing that's meaningful. You know, the way we present content and how we present it really versus, and Leah said it, you know, we need to make those connections between why is this going to be relevant to me? What am I going to be able to use this for? And if nothing else, you know, demonstrating to your students that while you may not be using trig functions in your life ever, because you're going to be a Latin teacher, it's still important that you understand how to critically think about a concept and how to examine something within the realm outside of your comfort zone. Student voice is all about, you know, students figuring out what is in and what is outside of their comfort zone and figuring out how to maneuver in between their comfort zone and out of it, and developing, you know, what their ideas about it. You know, what made me uncomfortable about the situation? Well, let me try to work on that. Or why am I so comfortable in this situation? Why don't I try to stretch myself out just a bit more? Student voice is really about personal growth and learning how to problem solve starting at a young age instead of, and I always use this as an example, restorative justice is one of the biggest things that ties a lot into classroom culture. You know, in what, maybe actually next year, a teacher is not going to be standing at the whiteboard telling me to be quiet to resolve my problem with another student. Learning the skills and the abilities to communicate with other students in a way that is meaningful, that demonstrates your want to build a connection with them, and one that, you know, you want to resolve problems within this world, is really the point of student voice.
All right, Sarah, that concludes all my questions. I want to thank everybody for being, number one, patient with me as I go through my technical difficulty. Lennon, you are definitely a force to be reckoned with. I'm looking forward to following your future. And Leah, it's a pleasure as always. You are definitely the sunshine that everybody wishes and hopes for in education. Back to you, Sarah.
All right. Well, I wanted to thank you all so much for this awesome conversation. So thank you very much, Leah and Lennon. That was great. And Doc D, as always, just phenomenal job moderating. So thank you so much for that. So definitely wanted to remind everyone that the Twitter chat will be, the Twitter chat archive will be put out in about a couple minutes, and the show will be available as an iTunes podcast within the next few months. So at 7 o'clock today, we are going to have a back-to-back episode with the Google Educator, the Google Innovation Academy. So the Google Innovation Program is coming on 7 p.m. We're going to be chatting with Wendy, and we're also going to be talking with some EduMatch Google innovators and talk more about the program and the process. And next week, we are going to be talking about recruiting high school students into teaching. So hopefully we'll see Lennon again. Yes, absolutely. All right. So
that's my area, so I'll be there.
Yes. All right. Excited to chat with you again next week as well. Is anyone else who wants to join us on panel? You could sign up at tinyurl.com/EduMatch sign up. And just wanted to give a quick shout out to Ed Change Global Classrooms coming up at the end of the month. So February 28th and 29th. So check them out, Ed Change Global Classrooms. All right. So that's a wrap for our 6 p.m. episode. So hope to see y'all in half an hour, and have a fantastic weekend or week. Bye everybody.